Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first edition of the J&J Compliance Corner. My name is John Marinas. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer here at Titan Cloud, and I'm here with my coworker, Jeff Sexton, who's the VP of Solutions Consulting. Say hi, Jeff.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our compliance corner. Looking forward to discussing fuel tank compliance issues over the next few quarters, and have a fun chat with John.
Awesome. Yeah, so as Jeff just said, that we're going to be doing these compliance corners every maybe quarter, or maybe a little bit more often. But we're just going to be having a little bit of a fireside chat. But just to get to know who Titan is real quick, I'm sure that a lot of people out there that are regularly listening to this broadcast know who Titan is. But we are the leading provider of technology-enabled services and managed dispatch. We have many clients and customers in both the retail as well as the consumptive use or fleet side. But the main thing that we talk about is there compliance without compromise. Well, there's a compromise on some things, but us as compliance specialists here, we believe that you should not compromise on compliance. So we're going to have these topics from time to time that we're going to come up with. We're also going to probably bring in a few industry experts as well as clients, customers, maybe some service providers, and then expanding outside of our verticals into other programs. But today's topic is on water ingress. And we're going to be talking about three different things here. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff here in a minute. But one of the big things that we see right now is some seasonal weather patterns. There are currently, lots of different weather aspects out there right now that, are changing from day to day. The warmer temperatures are creating a lot more issues within tank systems. But that's one of the first topics we're going to talk about is in water ingress is some of the seasonal water patterns. Jeff?
Yeah, as a former operator, I've seen everything from, rain, floods, snow, rain melt, to, even some of our sumps would fill up with water and freeze, and then the equipment would freeze. So you had a freeze thaw issue that would occur, over time and damage some of the equipment. But right now, with it being warmer than normal, there's a lot of precipitation, a lot of groundwater that is getting into various penetration parts of the fuel system, whether it is a UDC, STP sump, a transition sump, and these end up causing problems. So it's not a unique issue to anybody, but it is this time of year. It's probably one of the biggest issues that a lot of operators run into. John being a former compliance person, what are your thoughts on it, this time of year and some of the changes we've seen with the weather patterns?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I have talked to some of the folks in our customer support team and our customer experience center, and boy, the number of alarms that have increased and the number of dispatches have been very, very high. Again, that seasonal weather pattern right now is a little bit more pronounced than it has been in the last couple of years. Last year was dry. We were explaining that to a client and customer just a few days ago. Last year was a very dry year. This is a very wet winter. We feel that it's going to be a very wet spring as well. So, as we advise the clients and customers to take a proactive approach to battening down the hatches, that is going to definitely help them in the long run without having to, pump out water out of their UDCs or secondary containment.
Which is not cheap.
Which is not cheap. No, exactly. I want to say that the one customer we're talking to, it's about a 300% increase in maintenance cost alone that they've experienced in the last quarter of last year. And they're just wondering, where this is all coming from. But the analytics of that is that we're getting a lot more rain. We should be, as operators should be, battening down the hatches, checking their fill lids, ensuring that their UDCs are tight, ensuring that they're utilizing their inspections very well from the last time that they inspected when the monthly inspection was done and doing something about it. So the next
Yeah.
thing, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say then that kind of leads into our next thing of the monitoring.
Mhm.
Who's doing it? How are you doing it? You mentioned monthly inspection. That's always a great visual to see what's going on the site. Being able to actually have somebody go out and look at something, and then also being able to review those inspections and put some type of corrective action. It's just not good enough to do those monthly inspections and have something documented. But now you have something documented. If there's an issue, now you can issue a corrective action and fix it. So then hopefully you can eliminate some of these issues going forward, whether that is somebody's tampered with the sensor. They raise a sensor out of the liquid in the sump, so the alarm goes off. It's
That never
removing
happens,
of
Jeff. I've never seen
I
that
know,
before.
never happens.
God, I've never seen a sensor, tied up so that it's not, the alarm's not going off.
Or turn right side up.
Or turn right side up,
Yep.
or missing and X'd out.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So that that's a good piece of it. And then if your sensors are working, how are you monitoring it? Are you leaving it up to a local site? Do you have a consolidation point that you can remotely see? And then how do you respond to them? And then tracking that history. There's a lot to go there. But that's you're really your first line of defense of how do you what's going on in your site and how do you monitor it and who actually is doing it and what do you do when you do have some type of issue that develops. John, I know you've tested equipment in your former life, and working with various customers. What are your thoughts on just in general monitoring and the inspections and sensors?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because especially the number of inspections that that I've dealt with in some various companies, and being on the other side of it and seeing the inspections, sometimes it just gets very repetitive, right? So you see every inspection report that comes across. Well, there might be a deficiency. Water, in sump L2, L2 in alarm, Q1 alarms, right? So, but it becomes repetitive, and I think that yes, we've identified it, but at times things aren't getting done. So the who's and how's of monitoring, I think, are very important, right? It's great to have a program. It's great to identify that you have a problem, but doing something about it is the key thing, right? And I think that goes into our last topic here, which is the proactive maintenance versus the reactive maintenance. Hey, used to work for a company in the past, and I'm sure that there was some proactive side and there was some reactive side. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are reactive just because it's easier by nature to respond. We got liquid in the sump, inspections show that, sensors show that, let's dispatch somebody, remove it, done, wait till next month and do it all over again. However, that does become costly. As you mentioned, the increase in dispatches for the one customer you were mentioning. So being able to take all of this data and look at it and figure out where are you spending your money at, what can you do? Can you, is there something wrong with the sump that you need to actually spend, a little bit more money and fix it right the first time? So you're eliminating these non-compliance issues, but then also any issues, of not fixing it that could, create a bigger issue, whether it's water now gets into your fuel, you have customer issues, or your private fleet issues. If you have water in there, obviously if water is getting in, water is leaving, so there could be a release that now is impacting groundwater. A lot bigger of an issue. So being more proactive will save you in the long run. Everybody always knows that spend more money now to save more money later, but it's really true in this case. Is taking your data, looking at it, and making those wise decisions of where you want to be proactive at, and get ahead of some of your problem locations.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, it's really interesting because I think the data is very critical here, on the proactive versus reactive side, right? So as you see the data that comes across based on the number of alarms you've received, the number of alarms you've reacted to, and what you've done to mitigate those is very important for a compliance program, right? So, yeah. So, any final thoughts here? Again, this is our first one. How fun is this, right?
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to the rest of them. There's a lot here. We're trying to hit the high level of stuff. If anybody has any feedback, or if they want to participate in one with us, by all means, reach out, and we'll be glad to host a roundtable discussion with you on one of our topics or your topics. You choose. So John, I'll let you close us out here.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, for attending. As I'm just going to echo Jeff, we could definitely use some topics. Again, we'll be doing these quarterly, and hopefully you all join and find that this information is helpful. But for now, thank you very much and appreciate it. Jeff, thank you.
Yep.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.